What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy Trey Johnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. I want to make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And also, a new wrinkle, if you want to slide your boy, your favorite podcast, some support for as little as 99 cents a month, that link will also be in the episode description. So, my agents of respect, show your boy some love. But I'm really excited about today's episode. I want to kind of get into a preview of this weekend as far as football is concerned, both college football and the NFL. And I actually want to, start with the NFL, even though for the most part the games are happening on Sunday. I want to start with them because, there's a lot I want to really talk about in a particular game. Particular game. I think some of you guys can uh, understand or might guess which game that is I want to talk about in college football. But definitely want to start with the NFL and kind of before I start talking about some of the games I'm excited to see. We want to talk about the game we all saw last night, if you're a big fan of the NFL, and that was the Detroit Lions upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs last night in Arrowhead Stadium. And, of course, the Chiefs were without Travis Kelce, their Hall of Fame tight end, as well as their Hall of Fame defensive tackle, Chris Jones, who's still holding out for a new contract. But you play who you play and you play with who you play with. And it was a pretty good game, to be honest with you. Honestly, the real deciding factor in the game was a drop pass, which was kind of the theme of the night for the Kansas City receivers. Drop pass by Kadarius Toney that resulted in a tip to rookie Brian Branch, roll tide, baby, for a pick six. And so, losing by 1 point, that makes all the world of a difference. But I think there were some questionable coaching decisions, uh, trying to run the tight end or whatever the hell they was trying to do on a fourth and short. Then not to mention the fourth and 25, the Chiefs gambled and ended up going for. But I think at that point they kind of didn't trust their defense to make the stops. And honestly, Pat Mahomes was able to get a good ball to Sky Moore. He just couldn't bring it in. But definitely don't necessarily want to focus too much on what the Chiefs didn't do. Let's focus on what the Lions did do. I think they had a pretty solid pass rush against a very good offensive line in regards to the Chiefs. And they kind of made Pat Mahomes a little uncomfortable at the end. He could use his legs and things like that. But I think for the most part, they kind of affected some of his throws. He wasn't as accurate as we've seen in the past. I still think they're a little iffy in the secondary. I know they did a lot to turn that around. Obviously, there was a pick six, so they showed a little bit of opportunism, a little bit in terms of being able to generate turnovers and help their team out. But I do think there were some instances where they probably didn't get enough pressure. Relied too much on that shaky secondary, and I think they paid the price on a few occasions. But definitely saw a lot of good things from the defense, which last year was horrible and probably one of the main reasons why they started 1-6 to begin the year and barely missed out on the playoffs. But they at least have a defense that I think can really help them secure a playoff spot this year. And offense, Jared Goff looked comfortable for a good bit of the game. Chiefs were able to get some pressure on him, which just it was surprising to some without Chris Jones, but they were able to generate some pressure on him. Force some inaccurate throws. He did get sacked once the whole game, but he has one of the best offensive lines in football, so that's understandable that you won't always sack the quarterback, but it's about getting some of that pressure on him, causing some inerrant throws. I mean, anytime he needed to play, he went to the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he did not disappoint, making some big plays. 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown doesn't always look sexy on the stat sheet, but hey, he made the plays when he had to make them, especially on a red zone opportunity, scoring that touchdown. So, it might not look sexy to some, but touchdowns, big play ability in terms of making the play at the right time. That's sexy to me, so I enjoy that. One thing that did stand out, and I think the Lions, if they want to be the team they want to be, this is going to have to change. But first round pick, rookie Jahmyr Gibbs, roll tide out of Alabama. And I'm not saying this because I'm biased. I do want to make sure that I say that he wasn't nearly as involved as some would have thought. And, I get it. They like to have a balanced system with their running backs. That's understandable. But David Montgomery at one point in time, at halftime, I think had 74% of the snaps to Jahmyr Gibbs, 26 or something like that. And not to mention Jahmyr Gibbs only having a total of 9 touches the whole game. I think that's asinine, to be quite honest with you. I mean, this guy is a jack of all trades. He can run between the tackles. He can run outside. He can run routes like a receiver and to only have 9 touches, which includes just two targets that he capitalized, got 2 catches for 18 yards. He showed the ability to run between the tackles. He showed the ability to make the first defenders miss, get off of contact, be physical when he needed to be. And it was almost as if every time he had a pretty good play, they would sub him out. But you would see Montgomery get 2 and 3 carries sometimes at a time. And also on some big third down situations, I think, they stuck with David Montgomery maybe because he's a veteran and pass protection and stuff like that. But I've watched a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think pass protection might be one of his best skill sets. And so to see a guy with that ability, especially not be on the field on key third downs and obvious passing situations, was a little puzzling for me, but offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, he is one of the best in the league, and so I'm sure he has a plan. Coach Campbell did mention, as the season was approaching, that they want to be, steady with Jahmyr and kind of bring him along, but at the same time, man, you're drafting in the first round. You got to get him busy. Not saying he has to have 35, 40 touches like the Carolina Panthers were doing with Christian McCaffrey, but I think double digits, 15 to 20 total touches a game should be reasonable for someone as electrifying as he is. And I think he's probably that missing piece for the Detroit Lions offense to really unlock that next step and where they're trying to be. And so that remains to be seen what they're going to do. But I do think you need to get Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit more involved in the offense going forward. Chiefs, like I said, everybody talked about the drops and things like that in key situations from the wide receivers. And my big takeaway was, look, it's one game. I think they're going to improve, but at the same time, I still think they're too young in that wide receiver room. I think the best player they have, or the oldest player they have, I think is what, maybe Tony in year 3 or something like that. And so you want guys to be a little bit more seasoned. Last year they had a Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, this year they have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who they signed last year from Green Bay. But at the same time, I think they could use one more. I hate to say adult, but when I say adult, I mean more seasoned veteran in the room, in that wide receiver room, and obviously missing Travis Kelce. That's going to hurt the passing game a little bit, although I do think the tight ends that came in his stead did really well. Especially in the passing game, but also in the run game. We know blocking isn't Travis Kelce's strong suit, but they were able to have somewhat of an effective run game with the guys they had in, and so I think there were some good things, some good positive signs for the Chiefs. I still think they're going to end up probably being one of the best teams in the NFL and arguably probably be your Super Bowl champions, but who knows? But I think again, there are some things they can look at on the wide receiver and maybe bring another guy, an older guy that can probably just give Mahomes just that safety blanket that he really needs. And what was really surprising was the defense wasn't abysmal. The Lions had like maybe a couple good drives, maybe 2 or 3 that really stood out to me, especially the last one to truly get the lead and put the game away. But the Chiefs didn't struggle as much as we thought, especially to generate pressure. Again, only getting 1 sack, but to get as much pressure as they were getting on such a good offensive line, I believe they said the Lions were ranked as the 8th best offensive line in the league. So for them to be able to do that, that was great. But you still got to pay Chris Jones. He's your best player. He's going to help you in the run game, and he's going to help you in the pass rush and actually be able to connect on some of those things. So while the Chiefs were able to generate pressure, they weren't always able to capitalize on that. And so a guy like Chris Jones, second best defensive tackle in the league to Aaron Donald, in my opinion, you got to pay the man. Whatever that price is, I'm pretty sure there's outliers everywhere. Some people are saying he wants more than Aaron Donald. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do think he wants more than the 27 offered. So I think they'll find a way to get that done. But Good game, good start to the year. Wasn't some high scoring affair, but still good. I love a good defensive game. And so want to transition to Sunday and some of the games that are coming up and games that I'm excited for and why I'm excited for. And two of the three are going to be divisional matchups. So we know how important divisional games are in the long run in terms of how you end the season. And so starting off, I got Bengals versus the Browns. Joe Burrow just became the highest paid quarterback and I think player in NFL history with his new deal. And so shout out to him. He deserves it. Everybody's like, I thought he was going to take a pay cut. Well, you don't take pay cuts after your first contract, after your rookie contract. You get what you can get, and especially when you deserve it, and he deserves it. I am interested to see him. He didn't really do much this offseason, especially in the preseason, even though I didn't think he was going to play a lot in preseason games to begin with. But getting a calf injury really hurt kind of the practice times and getting those reps and things like that. So really looking forward to seeing how he comes out, what's his movement like in and out of the pocket, and does he still have some of that same chemistry? It helps when you have a guy like Jamar Chase, who you've been playing with for years, including college, obviously. And then a guy like T. Higgins, a guy like Todd's Boyd, who you have some chemistry with, is just like riding a bike, you like to think. So I'm looking forward to that. But also, Jamar Chase, speaking of him, uh, his guy Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year last year. And I think those guys have a nice, healthy competition. Jamar actually mentioned, yeah, Justin's going to get his deal and hopefully he can set that market for me so I can reset it. So that's kind of showing that type of competition that they have. And I think Jamar is not necessarily just eyeing Offensive Player of the Year and some of the wide receiver accolades. I think, to be honest with you, I think he's eyeing that MVP award and to try to be a guy that can get that. And so seeing that drive he has and what he's been able to do in this league in his short time in the league, really excited to see him. One big thing is that Bengals defensive line always going to be a thing. Trey Henderson, Sam Hubbard, those guys know how to get after the quarterback. I'm interested to see what that secondary looks like. They had a little bit of turnover there. Obviously, Eli Apple. I mean, you don't think it's a big deal, but sometimes it can be. He's playing over with the Dolphins, and I believe, I can't remember his name, but I know their safety last year, he signed a big contract with the Atlanta Falcons. So really looking forward to seeing how that secondary looks and if there are any hiccups there. They didn't really see much of them in the preseason, so I can't say one way or the other what they're going to look like this weekend. And that's one of the things that excites me, being able to see that and hopefully be able to see a few of those snaps. When it comes to the Browns, obviously a full offseason for Deshaun Watson, knowing he's not going to be suspended, multiple games, things like that. He came in last year towards the end of the season. And, the first few games, he was kind of getting his bearings and you started to see him be himself towards the end of the season. And so now a full year in that system, full year with some of the wide receiving core and that offensive line. I'm thinking we're going to see that Deshaun Watson we were used to in Houston in his big years. And so really excited to see what we're going to get from him. I want to see if that Browns defense is going to take that leap. I think we always talk about Myles Garrett, but do we really talk about the Cleveland Browns defensively as a unit the same way we would the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Philadelphia Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers? Yes, they all have individual guys on those units that make things work, but we tend to talk to them from the front seven to the back, secondary. We usually are able to, you know, really tap in and say, hey, these guys are really good at these positions. And as a unit, they're really good. And so is Cleveland going to take that next step defensively as an entire unit and not just be, Myles Garrett and crew? And so really excited to see if they take that leap. It's the AFC North, man. It's brutal. It's probably going to be the most brutal conference in all of football this year. And defense is the name of their game. Defense and run game. And I didn't mention Nick Chubb, but we know what he brings. But defense and run game is going to uh, help you and benefit you in this division, not only winning your divisional games and getting the advantage there, but how you play against opponents outside of your division. And so, these are two teams. Bengals are kind of at that top echelon of the division right now. And then you also have, again, the Browns. They signed Deshaun Watson to a big contract. They're hoping that he gets into the playoffs and they can compete. Otherwise, why move on from Baker Mayfield? He was able to compete a little bit in the division, get you to the playoffs, win your playoff game. So what is Deshaun Watson adding in value? And so I'm excited to see those two teams face off, two of the better quarterbacks in the league face off. And so want to transition again to another divisional matchup over in the NFC North. So AFC North, NFC North, and so I'm excited to see the Packers and Bears, two young quarterbacks with two chips on their shoulders, or with chips on their shoulders, and obviously Jordan Love facing or replacing the future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, who I affectionately call Aaron Rodgers, but we'll unpack that some other time. Um, but replacing a Hall of Fame quarterback isn't easy. We, as Saints fans, have seen that it isn't easy replacing a Hall of Fame quarterback. Even when that Hall of Fame quarterback wasn't the best at the end of their career, it's still hard to replace that mindset, just that repetition, and just that know-how. But there are some exciting things. I think Jordan Love throws a beautiful football, offensive head coach, and so that's always helps a young quarterback and just doing the things that fits them and not so much always trying to get them to revolve around the system. But there's a lot of pressure on Jordan Love as an individual because guess what? Even though he's the starting quarterback, it hasn't been established that he's the franchise quarterback. And so this game can help kickstart that in terms of saying, is he a guy that can help us win divisional games, help us win games in conference, help us get to the playoffs, somebody that we can put our faith in. So I think this game against the Chicago Bears, who have revamped their defense a little bit, especially their defensive line, can he make some plays and help them win the game? And on the other note, on the other side of things, you got Justin Fields, first round pick, um, has the worst record in the league in his 2 years, 5-20, so only winning 5 games over 25 starts, I believe it is. And so, is he ready to take that leap, that next step? That got you DJ Moore, who's one of the he's a phenomenal receiver, but I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. And so you bring him, you got your weapon. You still have Darnell Mooney. Still have Cole Kmet at the tight end position. Khalil Herbert was somebody who came on last year at the running back position. So really excited to see what they do offensively because it's going to be a big year for him. 24 class of quarterbacks is star-studded in my opinion. And so if the Bears find themselves with the top overall pick again, which they had before they traded it to the Carolina Panthers this year, you could be looking at maybe Caleb Williams. You could be looking at a Drake May possibly taking over in Chicago and then moving on from Justin Fields. So I think it's huge for these two teams. There's no Aaron Rodgers. And so a team like the Bears, who have been victims of that guy for so long, and everybody remembers him scoring a touchdown and telling the Bears, I own you. And so is there a time? It's wide open. Is there a time for the Bears to step up? Well, I think this first week, this first game, is it the end all be all? Of course not. But I do think it gives us an understanding of what their season might look like. We want to see if the offensive line for the Bears has improved. We want to see if the pass catchers and has Justin Fields improved as a passer, and will they utilize his legs a little bit more? Jordan Love, is he going to be that franchise quarterback? Is their defense going to be, still doing things still being good and effective, and how those things help them in their playoff push? So really excited for those two teams, those two quarterbacks. Really excited to watch them and just see, get a glimpse of what the season might be in. Uh, the last game I'm looking forward to, and look, I'm gonna say this, I promise y'all, every week the Saints aren't going to be in this list. I can tell you this right now. They won't be in this list every week. But I will say, first game against the Tennessee Titans, I think it's important. I'm excited to see, everyone says we have Derek Carr now. Things are supposed to be different. I want to see how the offense operates. Um, I don't think it's going to be as easy, and I'm trying to take things with a grain of salt because Alvin Kamara, who I believe is our best player offensively and best weapon, he's not going to be playing. Suspended the first 3 games for off the field issue last year, so he's not going to be there the first 3 games. So how do we not only establish the run game? I think that might be a little bit easier. You sign Jamal Williams, who led the league in rushing touchdowns last year. You drafted Kendra Miller, who ran for, I think, 1,300 yards in college last year for the national champion runner-up TCU Horned Frogs. Although he has been battling some injuries this offseason, most recently a hamstring injury listed as questionable right now. So don't know if he's going to play. But is he going to help some relief with the running game? Obviously, you got Taysom Ball, baby, so you know he can help with the run game. So I think establishing the run game might be a little bit easier. I think what's going to be important is who's going to be that safety blanket, that check down, that guy that we don't have to try to develop these long routes and things like that, which I felt like we did early last season. But somebody who can just get the ball quick to, and what does that look like? So is that Rashid Shaheed kind of taking maybe that extension of the run game that Alvin Kamara does, some of those swing out passes, some of those choice routes, who knows? But really excited to see what we do offensively. Have we changed? What is our interior offensive line looking like versus that vaunted pass rush and rush defense, to be quite honest, that the Tennessee Titans have? I think a big thing is going to be our defense versus Derrick Henry. This is going to be the first time we've played him. The first two times we didn't play Derrick, or Derrick Henry wasn't playing in those games. And so wanting to see, okay, what do we look like against one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the league? Can we make it hard for him to move forward and get yards and put the Tennessee Titans offense in good situations, ideally on second and third downs? And so I think we were 24th rush defense last year after typically being at the top. And so we revamped that interior defensive line. Nathan Shepard, uh, Colin Sanders, Brian Brzee in the inside. Obviously, sometimes you might kick Cam Jordan, who's one of the best rush defenders in the league as well. You might kick him inside to help. So really excited to see how we contain that. Obviously, the big matchup on from the wide receiver DB aspect, the Warden, Marshawn Lattimore, who I think is going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year, going against DeAndre Hopkins, who was the prize free agent signed for Tennessee Titans. So, don't really know what that's going to look like. I think D Hop's going to play a lot in the slot. So it's going to be him and Alontae Taylor, who I think can hold his own as well. So really excited to see what those matchups look like and just the chess pieces of how Tennessee tries to get their best players in positions to make plays. Overall, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a tough, hard-fought game. It's kind of what we saw last night with the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I mean, whether it's probably a win or loss, but I mean, obviously win or loss, but I think the winning team is going to win maybe by a field goal, maybe 4 points, something like that. And I'm confident that can be the New Orleans Saints at home in the dome. Exciting new quarterback. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come. And so we want the Saints to get off to a good start there. But really, really excited as a Saints fan on what that's going to look like for us. And so hopefully it's a win. Hopefully I can start off my week good with a Saints victory on Sunday afternoon. Now, want to pivot to college. I would say my first game I'm really looking, and it has to be one of the first games tomorrow, is Colorado, 22nd ranked team. So after beating TCU by 3 points, they moved up into the poll rankings and are now ranked the 22nd ranked team in the nation. They're going to be going against Nebraska, who kind of lost the heartbreaker in Minnesota. They had a lead, kind of gave it away, and then ended up losing by a field goal. And so the Cornhuskers are going on the road to Colorado, hoping to get in the win column for the first time in the Matt Rule era. And I think there are some things they do well. I think they might utilize Jeff Sims' running ability a little bit more. Obviously, a Big Ten offensive line, they have some size. And so we talked about it last episode. Colorado's rush defense gave up, I think, about 232 rush yards. So does Nebraska try to take advantage of that, slow the game down? TCU plays real fast, but I think Nebraska is going to try to slow the game down, try to keep Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter from an offensive standpoint, and then high-powered offense. I think they're going to try to keep them on the sidelines as long as they possibly can by establishing the run game. And on another note, I mean, Colorado, I think they're going to try to establish their run game a little bit more. They want to say they only had maybe about 57, 60 yards rushing as a team last year, and so relied heavily on Shadur's arm to help them win that game. And so I think they're going to want to establish the run a little bit more. Dylan Edwards, the freshman, coming back. Also, Cavassier Smoke, who was a transfer from Kentucky, he's going to be playing. And so having him in that lineup and kind of a hard-nosed runner, maybe they can set the tone offensively in terms of establishing the run, not always having to be as quick in terms of their offense and always looking for the big play. And so really excited to see what that dynamic is. I mean, guess what? Colorado said they were coming. Do you believe? Well, I think some folks are believing. We know that Colorado is here, but now we know that Colorado is here. So that means other teams are going to be preparing as such and not listening to the outside noise that had Colorado being some bad team. And I will say, look, this game, I think it's going to be kind of like the Colorado TCU game and the Nebraska Minnesota game, where it's anybody's game. Anybody can win. I don't think there's going to be a blowout one way or the other. And so I think Nebraska can win one if they limit the turnovers. Jeff Sims was bad at that last week. I think they limit the turnovers. I think if they establish the run game, keep that high-powered Colorado offense on the sideline, they can win. I think Colorado can win if they try to limit the run game, force a Jeff Sims to beat you with his arm. And I think, maybe executing drives, maybe getting a double-digit lead, whether it be 2 touchdowns, 10 points, I think that can help. And then make sure, then your defense doesn't have to necessarily worry about stopping the run. Now they can go and get after the passer. And so that might be something beneficial for them. So really, really excited to see that dynamic. And it's anybody's game. But I want to know, is Colorado ready to really, when they're to hunt it and keep this momentum going? Or is Nebraska wanting to play spoiler, get themselves in the win column, and, set a standard for how their season is going to go? So really excited for that game. Second game I'm really excited to see is Ole Miss versus Tulane. Um, I think it's going to be a battle with the quarterbacks. Obviously, Jackson Dart had a big game last week, threw 4 touchdowns. He didn't have to play the whole game. And Michael Pratt from Tulane, the quarterback, also had 4 touchdowns and only 1 incompletion. So I know he had got nicked up a little bit last game, but for what I've heard, he's going to be good to go. We're really excited to see him. And I mean, look, Tulane, they were riding high coming into the season. They're ranked 24th in the nation. Had a big win last season to end their last season against USC, the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. Thrilling game. And I don't think they've let that get to their head. Granted, they've only played 1 game, but now they're going up against an SEC West foe. I wouldn't call Ole Miss a powerhouse by any stretch, but still a formidable foe. Their defense should be getting better under Pete Golding, although I know Pete can have some mishaps sometimes. And so will Tulane be able to take advantage of that to a degree? Really excited to see that. Like I said, you have 2 explosive offenses. Will Dart and the Ole Miss offense take advantage? And let's remember, Lane isn't allergic to running the ball. He will run the ball if he feels that he has the advantage there. And so will he be patient with that? And will Ole Miss, with some of those guys, you think of the Power 5 guys and being bigger. I mean, I know Shadur's kind of said it. You can get used to the names and things like that. But also at some point, size does matter. And so can Ole Miss utilize that to their advantage? They're actually going on the road, so they're going to be playing in New Orleans. So that's even more exciting if you're a Tulane fan, because now you get to host an SEC team and a chance to play upset. Even though ranked wise they're pretty similar, we know that it's a little different in the SEC. And so if you can come in, or they have them coming to your house and you win that game, whether it's by 3 points or 30, people are going to talk. And I think Tulane wants their respect. I think people are saying, oh, well, the win against USC was kind of a fluke and that type of thing, that you guys don't really play anybody. But I think Tulane wants to make a point that they belong and that we're going to start having some conversation about Tulane maybe being in the college football playoff and being one of those teams that can make that surprise run like TCU did last year. And so I'm really excited. So does Tulane belong? Is Ole Miss ready to take that step in the SEC West? It's almost been like we've always seen them as little brother to Alabama and LSU, but now, you're falling by the wayside to the Texas A&Ms, the Arkansas of the world, and then you have Texas and Oklahoma coming in next year. Can Ole Miss really make that stamp in the SEC for themselves? And while they're not playing against an SEC team, I think this will help prepare them and kind of give them that confidence to perform within the conference. So really excited for both teams. I think both quarterbacks will be phenomenal. It's going to be about who can establish the run a little bit more. I know Michael Pratt can use his legs a little bit. I know Ole Miss has a few good running backs. So what team can establish the run? And then I think which defense makes the most good plays. When you're talking about high-powered offenses, it just takes one third down stop. It takes one turnover to really change the landscape of the game. So who's going to make that difference? I know New Orleans will be crazy tomorrow. I know that Tulane fan base, they will be crazy tomorrow. And so I wish them the best of luck. And I hope Old Pitt gets blown out. So there's that. Go Wave. um, and then last game of the of tomorrow that I'm really excited for. Come on, I mean, it's no surprise. It's going to be the University of Alabama versus the University of Texas. And last year, I I mean, I have a good head of hair, but I think I probably was about to go bald because I was just ripping my hair out because I was so frustrated. We couldn't really get the run game going outside of that Jace run. We couldn't block for Bryce. I thought he was going to get killed. Uh, for a while, we couldn't stop the explosive plays early on. Quinn Ewers gets hurt, probably levels it up a little bit. So now he's going to be healthy. Is he looking to make a statement that, hey, if I didn't get hurt, we was going to kick y'all ass last year? Maybe. Who knows? Sark trying to make a statement of his own that, hey, I can beat Nick Saban. We're coming to the SEC next year, and we're not scared. And I'm planning on beating Nick Saban some more. So it's a lot on the line for Texas and what their season is going to look like. And I think the same thing is for Alabama, hosting it at home, obviously now. But last year, Bryce had to play hero. And so if we get into that situation again where our quarterback has to play hero, are you confident enough in Jalen Miro being that guy? Is he going to take care of the ball in such a high pressure game? I think there's a lot of question marks for both sides, but I'm here to tell you tomorrow, you guys will be welcome to the Milrow Show. Um, I think there's been a lot of talk about, okay, uh, we have a running back at quarterback. We don't have a guy. Alabama's weak. We won't be able to do what we've done in the past. We're just going to stop the run and then make their quarterback throw the ball and he's going to turn the ball over. I think there's just been a lot of uh, question marks and disbelief in what this team is and what they will be, what they can be. And so when I say the Milrow Show, I think you're going to get a dose of it all. I think you're going to get his rushing ability and his athleticism, but I think you're going to get some tight window throws, some beautiful explosive throws. But also, I think at times when Texas wants to take that away, right, and force you to make that tight throw, I think you're going to get a Jalen Milrow who's not going to be scared of the moment, who's going to trust himself. He's going to trust his receivers. And I think you're going to get some guys like Ja'Cory Brooks, like Isaiah Bond, Jermaine Burton, that are going to reward him for having that faith in them to make a play. I think, obviously, Tommy Reese, offensive coordinator, come from Notre Dame. He's put out some great tight ends. And so I think our tight ends are going to play a bigger role in this game than they did last year. And the tight end position has in a while hasn't been that marquee position for us. And so I think we're getting back to having that tight end position playing a major role in what we do. And again, having Jalen Milrow and his dual threat ability, I think it opens up the run game. And so I think, Jace McClellan is going to do well. But we also have a collection of other backs that I think are going to do well. And I don't know what game y'all are hoping to see. You're probably hoping to see the thriller you saw last year. And whether you're a Bama fan, you want it to be Bama again rising up on top. If you're a Texas fan, you want it to be your guys rising on top. But every self-respecting Alabama fan that I know, we want one thing and one thing only. We want joyless murderball. It's joyful for us, but joyless for you. And what we mean by that is we want to hit you in the mouth. We want you to know right away that this game isn't going to go the way you think it's going to go. We are going to dominate you from the first whistle to the last whistle of the game. And we want your fans. The fans are going to be sitting all high because y'all pulled that bullshit last year for us. So the fans are going to be sitting high in the stadium. We want you guys to say, you know what? We're going to go to our hotel, check out, and head back to Texas. That's the type of game that we are planning to deliver. Joyless murder ball, domination, running the ball, passing the ball, stopping the run, stopping the pass, generating turnovers, which I think is going to be a big key this year. Do we have a Will Anderson? No, we have a collection of pass rushers like a Dallas Turner that wants to step up this year. You have a better secondary, I think, collectively from cornerback to safety this year. Obviously, Malachi Moore and Jalen Key are recovering from injuries, but I think they're going to be ready to go. They're not going to miss this game. I think they're going to be ready to play, and I think we're going to make some plays. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to lock up one side of the field. You can test him if you want to, but you're going to figure out why he's the best cornerback in college football. And again, Jalen Milroe was still the show. He will put a stamp, and not just the Heisman, hype and all that type of stuff. No, he will put a stamp that he is the starting quarterback for the University of Alabama. He's going to be the guy that ends this season as a starting quarterback, and he is going to be the guy that leads them to a national championship. And look, everybody knows I love Sark. I love what he's built. I love what he's trying to build at the University of Texas. I wish, he had stayed with us and hopefully be the heir apparent to Coach Saban when Coach Saban hangs it up. But that doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon. But this is business. It's not personal. And I just think there's been so much talk about Alabama and about how Nick Saban has lost his grip and how Georgia is a new king of the hill. And although we're not playing Georgia right now, I think everybody we face, we're going to see them as Georgia, and we're going to bring that same intensity, that same fire, that same passion that we would if we were playing the number one team in the country. That's what great teams do. That's what great teams do. That's how they win. And that's how they win championships. That's how they dominate. And again, we are planning to bring Joyless Murderball. No disrespect, but that's what we're bringing. And Joyless Murderball, any Bama fan will tell you this. It's not when we're beating out the Middle Tennessee states of the world and the Sanfords of the world, some of these other FCS programs and lower tiers. Sorry to say it like that. Don't mean any disrespect, but it is what it is. We don't mean when we blow them out. We're supposed to. We're supposed to do that. No, we mean when the cream of the crop, the blue blood programs, the top 25s, the SEC teams, the SEC West powerhouses, we know who they are. When they roll up in our house, or we roll up in their house, which is a matter of time before it becomes our house, we want you to know that you aren't the better team. There wasn't a play that decided the game. There wasn't just a small mistake that decided the game. You couldn't compete with us. You don't deserve to be on the same field with us. That is the type of Alabama football I expect to see this season. And that's the type of Alabama football I expect to see tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Central Time. So without further ado, give you a good horns down, roll tide. We're ready to go. And so Joyless Murderball is on the horizon. And I'm excited. You should be excited. Full slate of college football games tomorrow. Actually, there's a few coming on tonight. Illinois versus Kansas is something I'm trying to make sure I watch. It's coming up in a few minutes. Actually saw Louisville blow out Murray State last night. So we should be excited. A lot of good football happening both Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy, relax. You can worry about Monday on Monday. Enjoy yourself. Anyways, as I always say, if I offended anyone, and I'm sorry, Nikos and the rest of the Texas Longhorn Nation, if I offended anyone, it's a good thing. It's an opportunity for me to learn, and it's an opportunity for you to teach me. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Peace.